Hello, hello, and welcome back. And I just realized I need to add a longer countdown because I was just able to pull up my phone to share it on Facebook. But we are back and we are here for After the Greatness, day three. Holy moly. And I'm here with Diamond Sponsor, 360 Dispatcher, with Joe and Amy. Hello, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
We were already busting a gut already, so right before starting, and it's going to continue this way.
I feel like it is. I feel like we're yeah,
Yeah.
I
going
it's
down
kind of
fast.
it's weird, like it's because you guys are there and I'm here. Usually, we're at the ranch together, cackling and laughing it up, eating some bacon, and being chased by rams. Like that's usually what's going on at the ranch. But we are here and we are catching up. I want to see how your day has been. You started it out with the both of you first, you Joe, of course, and then Amy was next. But before we get into some of the stuff that you guys were talking about, you were out training today, right? You're still at the center. Is that where you're at?
Yeah, we're at the League City, Texas Police Department, and today was day 3 of the building interpersonal communication skills course. So we call it the Communication Boot Camp.
Nice.
And yeah, we had a great audience of law enforcement and dispatchers, and we went through a lot of fear issues, emotional intelligence issues. We went through communication, a personality type communication skills, how to read people, how to identify their type, how to reframe your communication style, how to get the most out of people around you, how to deal with difficult people. Yeah, we did a lot of work over the last 3 days. Honestly, we're dragging a little after all that, but it's been great. It's been real good.
Yeah, I bet. Just out of curiosity, really quick, before we jump in for the day, for Dare to Be Great, how did that work with having law enforcement and dispatch in there talking about different things? Because in some places, it's that bridge, the gap has not been bridged there. It has not
Yeah.
come together, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, you're doing this. Well, you do it because of this." In some places, they have bridged the gap, and so how did that work out? How was the conversation there?
So it works great because, well, in this particular case, they didn't really talk about each other or complain about each other or any of that. So the topic is fairly universal, right? So communication. I've done this program. I do a lot of work for municipal and county government. So I've done this program with cops, dispatch, waste management, parks and rec, all in the same room at the same time. And it works well. So, yeah, sometimes they talk about each other. Sometimes they just talk about interacting with difficult people. And you start seeing the similarities that cops have difficult people, has difficult people. And inevitably, they all have politics, they all have leadership, and some of them are great and some of them are difficult. And it's just, trying to figure out how to better navigate, not to perfection, not that issues not that issues are going to go away, right? It's how do I control myself and what tools can I use to maneuver, to navigate around other people and maybe help get a better response out of them than I have been getting up until now.
Nice. That is good because, and the reason I asked too is because, man, unless you're able to reel it in, sometimes it starts going into a casserole of confusion and chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty good about controlling a room. The thing we did at the ranch this last time, where Grayson County brought their law enforcement, their officer, was he lieutenant,
Mhm.
who oversees dispatch. And I love that concept. I want to do more of that where you have law enforcement, people in positions of authority, people in positions over dispatch, and get dispatch and law enforcement in the same room at the same time and open up law enforcement's eyes
Mhm.
to the realities of dispatch and the fact that law enforcement, in a lot of ways, consciously or unconsciously, are actually hurting dispatch. and they're hurting the morale, and they're hurting, the interaction and all the rest, because they don't get it. They don't understand them.
Mhm. Yeah, and I the gentleman you're talking about, are you talking about the 10-foot tall gentleman? Like
10 foot tall gentleman, yeah.
that dude was awesome, man. That dude was cool, and, I know it'll never see the light of day, but there was another person there who was, I think, maybe 3 inches, shorter, and they had you lifted up, right?
They,
And
somebody took a picture of me with my legs dangling off the ground because I'm only 5'9", and this one guy is 6'7", and the other one was about 6'3", and I was hanging on their shoulders, just kind of floating in the air. They were big boys.
that's right. So if any of you who are watching, listening right now, if you've ever seen the picture, and if you haven't, just Google it. But it's a picture where it's Andre the Giant, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Wilt Chamberlain. And Arnold looks like that big compared to them. It was kind of the equivalent of that. It
Yeah,
was
pretty
it,
much.
yes, it was a cool group, and I love with everything that you guys do at there at the ranch, and it sounds like it was pretty awesome as well, what you guys were doing today, or actually this whole week, being out there for the training and such. So this morning at 8 o'clock, well, more so a quarter to 8. It was a quarter to 7 for you, I believe, Joe. Um, we were in the green room and we were getting ready for your opening session, which was the secret of your success. And before we get into just talking about that really quick, I just want to mention the fact that the light that was above you was amazing, not just because it was bright, but because it had feathers all around it. So it almost made it look like you were just kind of glowing all around.
Ricardo, there was no light over my head this morning.
Oh,
There's no chandelier on that ceiling.
well, then
It
that's
was
just
it was my natural glow,
yeah.
Ricardo.
He had the glow. I dig it. Well, it was emanating greatly because the session was awesome and everyone really got into it. It was very engaging. And there were a lot of folks in there as well that were commenting that were from the last ranch, the most recent one, and other ranches as well. I thought that was really cool.
Look, I'm really good at choosing Airbnbs. I just want to say, from having us like in Fifth Ward in downtown Houston to the Flamingo House here in Lake City.
It's called the Flamingo House?
The Flamingo House, yes.
That's pretty cool.
There's pink accents all over the house, from the coffee mugs to the dinner plates to this little closet where you hang like your coats, and the backsplash in the kitchen. Yeah, it's pretty great. Rugs, pink curtains,
Yeah.
I dig it.
It caught my eye.
So it's the thing about the ranch, and this is a project that is percolating in the back of my head, so we can't announce anything yet. But the thing about the ranch is it brings people together and it creates relationships in addition to the individual's kind of life-changing realizations. It also brings people together because, as you know, on the first night, we do a really with a lot of we do we do a breakout, we do a icebreaker the first night on Monday when everyone gets there, and we do it very intentionally. And people, honestly, people moan and groan like, oh, we got to do this crap. Everyone find a partner, talk to each other.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, by the end of the night, pretty much everybody out of 40 people, 45 people have talked to each other in one shape, form, or another. We go one-on-one, and then we do another round of one-on-one, and we do another round of one-on-one. And then we have 4 people at a table, and they're answering questions. We pass out question cards, and they're getting to know each other really fast. Why? Because by Tuesday morning, we're going to dive in. We're going to dive into fear and emotional intelligence and resilience and all that stuff. And we were trying to create a safe space where people can say whatever they need to say. And people can cry if they need to cry. And people can laugh if they need to laugh. And we want, in that short period of time, to melt the barriers and create bridges between all the people. So, and when you go to the ranch, you have assigned seating on Tuesday morning, and then your seats are all changed Wednesday morning, and they're all changed again on Thursday morning, and they're all changed again on Friday morning. So through that week, you've talked to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are groups of people who, you know, those names that we saw this morning, it's like, oh man, I think Cassie Owens was on that. I was like, oh, that's Cassie Owens. There she is. I was just with her at the ranch, you know, and it's great to have that connection, because you use that connection to help each other. And I'll give you a quick example. Maybe if you want to talk about Bandera Buddies.
Oh, yeah. So we created a workout group. There's an app called The Conqueror, and we, like 8 of us, signed up for a 2,800-mile walk. So basically, we're each contributing every time we walk. Our miles get contributed to those 2,800. We have like 2 years to finish it, but we have a group text, and everybody's like super encouraging with each other, and it's great. Like what we're doing at the ranch shows people that you can go back to your comm center and you can have close relationships like this with your people that you work with every day. So yeah, it's great.
That is awesome.
And we've seen, you know, you look at results, right? People, let's just talk about Jolene for a second. How can you not talk about Jolene, right? So Jolene, I was training out in Monterey County 911 last year. I did 3 classes, 1 class a month for 3 months. And Jolene Bino is a supervisor in Monterey County. And she, you know, struck me as somebody who has a huge amount of potential. She's kind of, honestly, she had a little chip on the shoulder, and she knew it. And so we talked. I said, look, let's work together. So we started working together, and we get on the phone from time to time, and we set health goals. And I connected her with my trainer, and he started training her virtually. And she's got numbers. She's lost, I think, 75, 80 pounds so far, you know, and it's changed the way she looks. It changed the way she feels. It changed the way she shows up, changed her attitude. She was just sparkling at the ranch. She ended up coming to the ranch last month. And she was probably the biggest cheerleader of the group and for this walking group. And also, not coincidentally, she won the 360 Dispatcher Leadership Outstanding Leader Award, which I give out every session that we have the ranch to somebody. And she's been doing the work. Now, I tell people this all the time. I'll give you my number because I know you're not going to use it. And the people who use it and do the work are the people I have time for. Other people, you know, I'm not that concerned about, honestly, because if you're not going to do the work, why should anybody else go out of their way to help you? But Jolene jumped in and she started doing the work, and she's shifting everything about her life: personal, work, health, nutrition. She's doing great. And I think she's at the point of trying to get to the High Performance Academy that we're launching in February. It's a week at the ranch and then a year online. And she just sent us a text the other day. She's like, I'm registering for that program. Like, it's so exciting because you look at her and the sky's the limit. And the bottom line is that's available to every single person on this call, every single person that's attended the conference, whatever. You can do it. And this is a head game. And once you crack into that, the idea of the head game, and you start setting up tools and techniques appropriately, you can do anything.
I feel that, man. I feel it. And it's funny though, in a way, only because there at the ranch, you were talking about how she was, and just a little bit here, seeing her and meeting her, you would have never known. Like, you would have never thought that there was a chip on the shoulder or there was anything else. It's like every time she came, she was like, hi, hey, how's it going? You know, and I remember her walking up to you, and she's like, I got 5 more people to add for the walking and stuff, and or whatever the thing that she was doing as well. And I was like, damn, I was like, she's just really getting it in there. I was like, that is really awesome. And that, I mean, everything that you were talking about just now, but also this morning, the secret of your success, it sounds like it's a lot of stuff that she was doing as well, because we get in our way sometimes. And it was just like you leaned in. I mean, you told that story about Pam as well. And I think she posted also on Facebook earlier, it was kind of a comparison from last year to this year. and a thank you and what she was talking about. And I thought that was really cool, and people were really engaged, and it just resonated with so many people, your message this morning. So thank you for that.
Always a pleasure, man. And you know what? Let me say something
Mhm.
about dispatch. Dispatchers, you guys are awesome. You're so great to work with, and you need tools and techniques. You need a lot of support because, frankly, as many dispatchers have told me across the country, we're the redheaded stepchild of law enforcement, and it's true. And it's like, what better group of people to work with than people who want it, people who will work for it, people who are open to facing themselves and facing their fears, like Jolene, and going after it. And like someone like Jolene, she reaches a roadblock, she takes 2 steps back, and then she gets on the horse. Within a day or two, she gets right back on it. She keeps going. It's like, that's it. You're going to have failure. You're going to fail fast, figure it out, move forward, keep going, and you'll reach it. And I just love working with. I've done 500 classes for cops, and cops are fine, but I love the dispatch audience. There's so much more receptive. There's a little bit less of a block. Like, cops are always sitting there like this. Prove to me that I should listen to you. It's like, yeah, whatever. Get over yourself. But dispatchers are they're so much fun to work with.
Well, and it's also because we're going to bust your balls right back.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yes, I love it.
that.
Just
Yeah.
there's moments that I've seen, and just you will throw something out, and you've got that look on your face, almost as like, I want to see if they're gonna say something back. And someone will say something back, and you're like, what? And like the whole room will explode. And I really love that. And it's really cool. It's always awesome. And someone maybe I should say, no, I'll just say it now. When we were talking with during Dalen's, I think it was at the end, she was talking about the cat. Do you remember the kitty cat?
Oh my gosh, yes. In class.
When we were in class,
Oh yes,
when she
oh
was
my
doing
God.
her class, and someone said that someone was acting like a kitty cat, and she just straight up said what they were trying to say, and everyone was just laughing.
Yeah.
We were cracking up at the end when we were talking about it. But
That was great.
yeah, that was really good. Amy, the the next session after Joe's, of course, was with you, and your session was called Leading with Love. Tell us about this session, please.
So one of the things that makes me cringe when I hear people say it, and just because of my experience at my last agency, when people say, "Oh, I hate it when people say we're like a family here," because that's truly what we were at my last agency, and it was genuine, and we built genuine working relationships with each other. We had personal relationships outside of work. People, they would go out on the weekends with each other. They'd go bowling, team building, all kinds of stuff. And like, the relationships were not fake. They were completely real. People were allowed to be themselves with each other. And like, if I do something wrong, it's okay for you to come and tell me that I did something wrong, because I need to know that. And those are just the types of relationships that we built. And I mean, it goes back to just being a good human all around. Be kind. Understand that people go through shit at home. People go through shit at work. And you're not going to come to work every single day and be happy-go-lucky all the time. But if I know you and I know your heart, that's when you need me the most, because I recognize that in you. I recognize, because of the relationship that we have, that something's wrong. And maybe now is the time that you truly need me, and hey, let's go talk.
There were so many great points in everything that you were saying, and I can only imagine people are taking screenshots as fast as they could. They were writing stuff down. I mean, you could see it in the comments as well. I caught a screenshot as well right before. I was lucky enough, because as soon as I let go to take the screenshot on my computer, you had switched slides. So I was able to make it just in time. But it was a slide that basically was asking the question, how can you lead with love? and you had a bunch of different points on there. One of them was establish a clear vision, values, and expectations, and hold people accountable to them. Honest and open communication across the organization. Celebrate your employees and help them to develop. Be supportive of your people. Understand that they are human and give them the opportunities to have a healthy work-life balance, and then lead with integrity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing that I mentioned was giving people grace. Like, we're all going to make mistakes. I mentioned, I think, me in a management position
Mhm.
where, I have all this stuff on my plate and I'm just trying to make decisions quickly just so that I can get, mark that off my to-do list. Okay, it's done. Make the decision. Let's go roll with it. But then I make the decision so quickly that I don't realize, because I'm not a frontline employee, I don't realize how it's affecting them. But because of the relationships, it's okay for you to come to me and tell me, hey, can we talk about this decision that you made? Because the floor is like going crazy right now. And I'm like, yeah, let's talk about it. Come to me, make me slow down, make me realize that I need to take a breath. And like I said, practice the pause and make the decision that's going to be appropriate for them. Include them in the decision-making process because, like I said, I don't work the floor. So I want to make sure that those relationships are established so that people don't hesitate to just have an open conversation with me.
Awesome. Again, excellent points. And people are going to be able to go back in there and watch both of your sessions forever. I mean, it's always going to be there. It's not going anywhere. And I think that's one of the things that I love about that platform as well, is that it stays there. There are other platforms where you can only have like 100 videos, or you can only have certain, things to go up there, and then it just disappears. With this one, it stays there. As long as I'm paying, it stays there. Eventually, it'll all go over to my YouTube channel and stuff, but for now, that's where it's at, and it's available for everyone. So then, a few hours later, we jump into a keynote session with Juliette Brown, and excuse me, her session was called "Dare to Be Yourself," and I just want to read the short summary that she had here. And it says, "In a world that often encourages conformity, daring to be yourself is a powerful act of courage and authenticity. Being yourself can be a daunting task. Will they accept you? Will you be okay if they don't?" In this presentation, we talk about the gut-wrenching feeling before you speak and the power you have to control your own story. For out of all the people that don't accept you, there is one that does. And sometimes the one that does needs to see you be courageous so that they can find courage in themselves. And I thought it was excellent session which she had put together, really kind of sharing her story and what it was like. I mean, she mentions a moment in time where she was giving a presentation in front of 5 people and she passed out. And she's like, "I passed out. I passed out in front of 5 people." She goes, "There were people that were there. Some of them," she said, I think she said it was like a night class or something, and she was giving this presentation. So she goes, "There were a couple people that, were falling asleep." She goes, "But I passed out. And here I am now as a keynote speaker. And even before this, I've been speaking and instructing and doing all this stuff is something that I never thought I would do in comparison to what it was like passing out in front of 5 people. And now she's been doing so much, but it was also because she's not only daring to be herself, but being authentic and just kind of being an inspiration, but going off of others' stories that inspired her. And then I was, it was mentioning that her story inspires others as well.
It was great to have her at the ranch this year as an instructor because it helped close the loop. When she came to the ranch about 2.5 years ago, she came as a 911 to Women fireworks scholarship winner,
Hmm.
which was awesome. She got that opportunity. And then she just ran. After that, she ran with it. She's like,
Yeah,
I'm
she
going to
did.
speak at Nina. I'm going to speak at APCO. I'm going to speak out. She's spoken at least 15, 20 times in the last 2.5 years. So it was great to have her come back as an instructor and kind of for us to see her close that loop and to kind of graduate, so to speak, from a participant to being a speaker. And it's like, wait a second, she's a great, I'm glad you brought up her name because that's a great example of what we were talking about earlier. She says, look, I got this opportunity and now I have different set of eyes. Come to the ranch, I have a different set of eyes. Now I go out and I do the thing that's uncomfortable, right? Oh, you're going to fall asleep in my session? I'm going to, you think that's cool? Watch me. I'm going to pass out. Right? I'm
Right.
going to hold my beer, right?
Yeah.
And so, but the thing about it is she keeps going.
Mhm.
That's that fail fast, that clarity, that focus, that consistency. She, Jolene, the kinds of people we're talking about, they keep going. Whether it's they make mistakes, yes, they're going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. What do we do with those mistakes? We give up or we keep going. It's difficult, but it's almost as simple as that. What are you going to do? What are you going to choose to do? So she's one of those people that she's always full of enthusiasm. She's always, jumping in, and she makes a great point. The question is, who changes things? The world. Who changes the world? The world could be your shift. The world could be your comm center. The world could be your country, whatever, right? When we change the world, the people who change worlds are the people that step out. They're the people that go first. Those are the people that are willing to be made fun of. Those are the people that are willing to dare. They dare. Oh my God, let me say it. Maybe this is the original phrase. I might have to trademark this. They dare to be great. They dare to be great.
He did the
Right?
thing. He said it.
But seriously, it's like, that's what I love about this whole program. It's like, okay, you're going to dare to be great. What does that mean? That means you go inside and you say, what is it that I can develop? What is it that I can offer the world? What is it that I'm willing to take a risk at? And go sit. Why? Because I've been watching the landscape and I see people are dying. People are hungry for this thing, right? Leading with love, being yourself. How scary are those two things? So if I, Juliet, if I, Amy, I, Joe, can step out and be courageous enough to take that risk, maybe I can help. Maybe it's contagious and I can help other people get the nerve, which is why, my book series is called the Get the Nerve series for that reason. If we can get the nerve to step up and step out, we can bring other people along with us. And it's far less scary when we bring other people along with us.
We got another alumni right here.
Hey there, hi there, ho there, ho, ho, ho there. In the spirit, Mr. Entertainment himself, Steve Turchin, came to the ranch.
Right.
And he was awesome. He was fantastic. We're in the process of scheduling a class out at his place in Surprise, Arizona. So we're looking forward to that. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, man. And Steve speaks tomorrow.
Woo! Oh, good. Yes. Excellent.
Yeah.
There's Danielle Johnson, hello, Danielle. Miss you.
So the next session after that was by Will Young. He's a CTO out of Clearwater PD, and his session was called Neurodiversity in 911: Embracing the Benefits of a Diverse Workforce in Emergency Communications. This one was just full of information, man. There was so much stuff in here, and I'll just read the synopsis here really quick. And it says, neurodivergence isn't simply a buzzword. It's a reality for an estimated 15 to 20% of the population in just the United States. Chances are one of your partners is neurodivergent and you don't even know. Learn strategies to foster a more effective, empathetic, and resilient team from a former public school educator turned public safety telecommunicator who happens to also be diagnosed autistic. Discover the benefits of embracing neurodiversity in the ECC and learn practical steps to create a supportive environment for everyone. There was, again, tons of information in here. And so just like one of the things, let me pull this up here really quick. So one of the things he was talking about supporting and maintaining resilience, environmental, he was talking about like the headsets, lighting, console adjustment. So there was like two different pieces here, and we were going through a bunch of different diagnoses and such, ADHD. I'm trying to remember all of them. There were so many of them, but it was just talking about how to kind of understand each other and folks that that are working through this, and some of them that might not want to share it, right? Because they might feel as though they are being judged, or that people might not understand a certain thing. So it was explaining a lot of these pieces, but also kind of sharing his story and how others can work together to learn, so that if someone is doing a certain thing or not able to focus or whatever, there's a reason, and this is why. And I thought it was really cool that he came on and he was sharing all of this, but also having the courage to just be open and talk about that.
One of the things that it goes along with something that I said in my session, and that's accepting people for who they are.
Hmm.
Juliet talked about it also in her session and in this session also. So it's all about, like, don't judge people for where they come from or who they are. Just accept people, give people grace and make sure that everybody feels accepted and nobody feels left out for any reason.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. And that was the amount of engagement and the people that were just asking questions and coming towards each other. It was really cool to see. The next session after that was from Matt Glogolich. If you're watching, I think I said it right. We had talked about it in the green room. And he's with Critical Comms Training. He's out of New Jersey, actually. And his session was called A Practical Approach to Tactical Dispatch. And the synopsis here was, would you consider yourself a tactical dispatcher? Surprisingly, much of our work when dispatching critical incidents or even completing some of our most routine tasks employs a tactical dispatch philosophy. Join us while we break down the barriers of critical incident dispatch and share knowledge and skills to prepare our first responders to utilize a proactive approach under the headset. Now, these were two pieces as well. One part was for basically like the call taking, and was breaking down, even had a portion that was on domestic violence, what to listen for. And there were just so many different things. And like I mentioned actually before we went live, was that it was different than what I thought it was going to be, because I see tactical dispatch and right away I'm thinking it's a high priority incident and you're out at that scene and you're, listening and dispatching, radio work, all of that. But this was like an all around type, where it's when you're call taking, you're listening for certain things and how you're working with others. And then the second part was like the radio part and such. So it was really cool to have this, and he broke down so many different things. Again, if I was watching this and still in dispatch, I would have been taking screenshots because there was so much stuff on there. But it was an excellent one.
One of the, whether you're sitting in a comm center or you're out in the scene, one of the big things is how do you keep your head about you? And it also applies to what we were talking about this week in class. It's one of the most critical skills is to keep your, what we call, keep your IQ high.
Mhm.
Because when you move from calm to alert to alarm to fear, your IQ starts plummeting. You can't make good decisions. You can't think straight. And for any kind of situation, even if it's a difficult conversation or emergency situation or inside the comm center, it's practicing how to keep your head about you. So, I mean, people know my background. I lived in Russia a long time, used to investigate the Russian mafia. And one of the situations we had was the first week I was a director of this office in Moscow, of the world's leading corporate investigation firm. Our client was arrested by the KGB. And I'm in my 5th day working there. And the bottom line, I found out about myself, when stuff gets crazy, I get really calm. And the bottom line is, if you lose your head, everything becomes much more dangerous. It becomes much more difficult to give clear orders, to make good decisions. Another thing we worked on was at Sam Houston State, when I was getting my PhD, we worked on GIS table and emergency response, right? So we had active shooter scenarios, we had prison escape scenarios, and you watch the people around the table, the emergency response team. And the first decisions they were making at 9:00 in the morning was, maybe we should order pizza for everybody. It's like, wait, what? What did you just say? We got an active shooter, and your first thought you're having is ordering pizza. And, we had people that would stage media and parents in the line of sight of the shooter. And it's like, wait a second. Once you start losing your head, all kinds of decisions get skewed and crazy. Just take Denise Amberly, right? That situation.
Mm-hmm.
And decisions, the way they were made. I mean, Nathan's come to the ranch and run out that whole scenario. And it's like, oh, you know what? People don't have their head in the game. And they're making terrible decisions. And they're not listening. And they're not communicating. And I have a grudge against you. So therefore, I'm not going to share this information with you, which in all likelihood cost somebody her life.
Mm-hmm.
The stakes don't get higher than that.
That's for sure. And so being in that session and having all of those pieces broken down as well just goes along like what you're saying. To be able to fix a couple of those things, to be able to really dial in and figure out all the stuff that's going on, but also to work together and again just communicate. It always goes back to that part. Um so yeah, that was an excellent session, and kind of what you were just mentioning here, and some of what was going on in that session too fits with the last session with Brad Flanagan, who he was talking about imagine the possible. And what I'm getting at this part is now like the technology part of this and how it can help and make things easier for those who are working in 911. Some of the stuff that he was talking about, he had a slide on there for virtual ECCs, and just like the thought about that, or one of the things that he did that he kind of tied in with Dalen's is was also you can kind of tie it to the scenario of Denise Amberly as well, but just for the sense of the call piece where when you're on the phone with somebody and they're going through this high priority emergency, there are some times where we have to put that person on hold to get another line. And you ask, is this an emergency? And the person goes, yes. And you're like, okay, go ahead with that emergency, thinking that it's an emergency, right? I mean, of course, it's their emergency, but the emergency they're calling about is, you know, do you know what time the fireworks go off? In the city, and you're like, that's not an emergency. I got to put you on hold. Now you've wasted a few of those seconds, and you go back to that main call that you were on. Well, now you've missed a bunch of information that could be crucial to the person's life that you're talking to at that moment. But what if with technology, the technology that's out here now, or any AI that's being developed that comes out, what if it can auto answer so that when it's a type of call like that, it can take that piece and you don't miss those moments.
It's already like all the stuff that Brad talks about, I think is super cool because most times when you have someone from the field that comes to dispatch and they're like, okay, we want this to be done now, and we want the dispatchers to do this, and we want them to do this. And we're like, they're already doing so much.
Mhm.
And multitasking it's not multitasking. Like you're just doing what you've been ingrained to do. And there's so much room for mistakes, and mistakes could cost so much in the dispatch center. And so I appreciate all of the AI stuff that is coming into play because it's taking the load off of the dispatchers so that they can actually pay attention to the callers and the emergencies. It's super cool, all the stuff that's coming out. And did I mention automatic dispatch? There's already automatic dispatch, so that's pretty great too.
Some of that stuff makes you feel jealous sometimes because it's like, man, I want to come out of retirement, at least go work
Yeah.
part time to use all this cool shit that's coming out, man. Like, I mean, the impact on mental health alone. I get it. I know there's a lot of people who are like, no, it's gonna kill our mental health as it is and stuff. But I think about this scenario alone, and there were times where I would take a cell phone call from someone that we didn't have companies out there that could pinpoint um, location, and the cell phone carriers can't find them either. And then the call drops, and you can't get back to them. So then I'm hoping and praying that that person is okay. And I mean, even today, I still think about some of those calls from like, man, I really hope that that person ended up all right. Well, now with the newer technology and stuff, and the fact that you can pinpoint people in certain places, that alone right there, like, I think about, like, I wish I had that, because then we could hopefully at least find that person. So I feel like it kinda helps in a way. I'm saying this as just, this is my thought that it helps. So I hope those that are watching, Amy, you were still in 911 like the past few years, being able to use some of this technology. So maybe you can speak on that point, that it does kinda help mental health in that sense, where you're actually would be able to find someone, where before it was just, I hope they're all right.
Yeah, for sure. Because I have one of those calls in my past where somebody called 911 and we couldn't find them, and he was physically ill, like I could tell he was, and he spoke Spanish, and I couldn't get an interpreter on the line. Call dropped. Never could get a hold of him anymore, and I still to this day don't know what happened to him. So yeah, I think especially with like Rapid SOS, like
Mhm.
we had Rapid SOS for a little bit before I was gone from my last agency, and it was the coolest thing, just to be able to even tell like what level or what floor in the building a person was. It's the technology is just crazy.
Yeah, when they had first mentioned that, now we're gonna have Z access, we're like, "What?" We're like, "That's pretty badass." Like, man, I wish it was around when I had it. Danielle down here, I just wanted to say this really quick before we get to the other session. She says, "My fear is coming out of retirement and not being able to do the new techie stuff." I kinda have that little bit as well, but I think it would be cool, like, they would be able to show you. There's a whole, tutorials all over the place, you'd be able to do it. You'd be good. You'd be good.
You know,
So
and the added layer might be, hey, how do we bridge the gap or the build stronger relationships between people over the age of 35 and people under the age of 35 in dispatch? It's like, okay, because yes, we constantly hear about millennials, we hear about Gen Z, Gen Q, Gen P, Gen every bit, right? And it's like, wait a second, what is it that people from the age of 20 to 30, 35 know
Mhm.
in terms of how they interact with technology, how they interact with video, how they interact with handheld devices, and can those be adopted in dispatch instead of just, this wave of, oh my God, the millennials suck. It's like, well, you know what? Different. But can I ask you, do you know how long people have been complaining about the younger generation? At least 3,000 years,
Oh,
at
yeah.
least. Socrates and all that, they all complained about the younger generation. So that's just kind of, maybe it's a rite of passage for us
Yeah.
old bastards to complain about you young bastards,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah, it might be.
yeah, but because yes, the world is not the same as it was when I grew up 50 years ago. The world is not the same as it was 10 years ago. And yeah, if you want to talk about change, we always talk about change and people are afraid of change. The world is changing faster. Just look at the headlines from the last 24 hours and what's going on around the world and the wars and the overthrows and just everything else. And then you throw technology on top of that. And then you throw different mentalities of 20-year-olds that is very different from 40, 50-year-old mentality. It's like, all right, here's your reality. That's what we have. Now what you're going to do with it. Because we can't just beat up the younger generation because we got to fill seats. So
Yeah,
what does that mean? How do you bridge that gap? That
yeah.
to me, I would love to see you do a session with Brad on technology and younger generation, Brad Flanagan. That would be a really interesting conversation.
That would be definitely, and over here on Instagram, we've got someone we're talking about the piece that we're talking about right now, and says it's both really cool and super scary. Says doing, and then the next piece, or the next comment from the same person, says doing the Marco Polo thing in the woods has been a drag. Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's why the new technology is so good, because I remember telling people on the phone, they would be I dispatched in a big state game area, and the one portion there, sometimes people would get lost. Excuse me, and we wouldn't be able to pin them, or ping them rather, out anywhere, and I would have to say, "Do you see the flashing lights? Do you hear the siren?" And they'd be like, "I think it's the echo." I'm like, "Damn it. Okay, well, maybe go the other way then." And it was always a sigh of relief as well when you would hear, that they did find them. I'm like, oh, thank God. Like that was crazy. Like, is it time to go yet? Like, I think it's close. Oh man.
But the other thing about the technology that bridges or loops back to Amy's presentation to Juliet's presentation is the technology is only good as the users. And the technology is only as good. You can get brand new technology, leave it in the corner of the room, not use it. You spent the budget, that's lovely, but the people in the room are afraid of it.
Hmm.
So it's the human factor is so critical and so overlooked, comparatively speaking. Just we spend so much money on CAD systems, rightly so. Great. What about the one that we hear the most is people who went to a conference, who went to NINA, went to APCO, went to whatever, for the first time in their lives after they've been in the business for 20 years. And they said, if I knew that any of this stuff existed, my head would have been different. Like if I
Yeah.
heard about this 20 years ago, I would have thought about the industry differently. I would have thought about my job differently.
For sure, because then they realize there's much more beyond what they're doing, and more people like them and who think like them, and I think a lot more people would not also feel alone, in what it is that they're doing. Looking down here, Danielle Johnson says, how to bridge and embrace the new technology for sure. I remember being the new generation. Crazy to think how much things have changed since I started in 1997, even. And just to your point about a generational thing of like kind of giving crap to the newer generation coming on or coming in. Just in general, I remember being in school in like 93 and 94 when I had first gotten America Online and dial up internet and like talking to my teachers about it, and they would give us like crap, like, yeah, well, you're this generation coming in and you're gonna have all this internet, whatever that means, the interwebs. And so for me, it's coming into having no internet to the dawn of the internet and America Online, but also cell phones, where it was going from bag phones to the brick Nokia phones. And yeah, rotary dial to touch tone. And okay, let's move on because I feel really no, I'm just playing.
Feeling very old.
I know, right? No, I'm just joking. So the last one that I wanted to kind of mention, but also when we finish this part, before we wrap it up, I want you to talk about you were mentioning something that's going to be going into place for 2025 in award. But before we get to that part here, just want to touch on Dalen Ryan, who did her session. It was the first time that I had seen it at the ranch when I was out there with you guys just last month. It wasn't that long ago. It feels like it was, geez. It was called Empathy in Action, Enhancing Call Takers' Responses to Domestic Violence Calls. It was the first time that Dalen had done this virtually, and damn, she did very well. But I will say that if you ever get a chance to see her do this presentation in person, definitely do it. It is so powerful. It was just as powerful virtually. She was engaging with the audience, they were engaging with her, but it's really her just kind of opening up and sharing a part of her that a lot of people don't know. And it's very raw and just emotional. It was a good session.
I think there's something super important about somebody sharing something so close to their heart and such traumatic experience. That that session is just one of the sessions at the ranch that makes people feel safe, and it
Mhm.
makes people feel like, okay, like I've been through something like that too. And I it's a good feeling to know that somebody else has been through that and that you can talk about it and you can be vulnerable about it.
Mhm.
It just gives, it's just a safe place. And you never know, like I say all the time, you never know what somebody's going through or what somebody's been through. So yeah, that's one of the really, really great sessions that we've added to the ranch.
Yeah, that was awesome, and I did tell the story. So I'll say this really quick. When we were in the green room, Dalen she was a bit nervous, and she's like, "I've never done this before. I'm just feeling a certain way, and just kind of I'm anxious. I want to get started." And I said, "Okay, hold on." I said, "Everything's going to be all right." I said, "Let me, you wanna dance?" I said, "Let's dance really quick. Let's dance." So I said, "How about I do my New Kids on the Block, for you?" And I was going up like this, doing my thing, and I said, "How about some TLC?" And we were just busting up laughing just so hard. I wish I would have recorded that piece because we were laughing so damn hard. And I was like, "All right." I was like, "You're gonna be good. Everything is gonna be fine." And she's like, "Whew, okay, let's do this." And I said, "Before we start," I said, "I do want to tell you this quick little story." I said, "When you were just probably almost to the middle of your session when we were at the ranch, I said I said to her, I looked over to Joe and I said, 'Hey, I have to have her for Dare to Be Great.' I said, 'Do you think that'd be cool?' And she's like, 'What?' And I said, 'Yeah.' And I said, and Joe looked back at me and he goes, 'Are you stealing my speakers?'" And she started laughing and she goes, "Oh my god, can you please tell that story in the beginning? It'll be like kind of a good icebreaker." And I said, "Hell yeah." I said, "Because it was hilarious." And I said, "No, dude." I said, "No." I said, we're this is how we do it. We're helping each other." And he started laughing. And I said, "It wouldn't be you if you weren't busting my balls about something."
You speaker poaching son of a bitch.
I know. So it was so funny, man. But we started, she jumped in and just killed it. It was so good. She also had a virtual workbook as well that was the people could do while she was going through it and stuff. And I thought that was a really cool thing as well. And again, just people were engaging and looking here. Amy Therian here says, the more I hear these amazing stories about the ranch, I really need to find my way to one of those sessions. And yeah, there's a lot of people. Look, even Gary is saying that he's trying to put it on his priority list. But um, it was really cool to have her in there and to have so many people also open up and share in the comments in the chat some of the things that they've been through, but also some of the things that they are some goals. Like, where are they at the moment? Like, one of the things I shared was that I'm learning to set more boundaries and to actually say no to a lot more things, because I added in there as well. There are a lot of vampires out there that are going to try to suck the life out of you if you let them. And it's just like in the movies, it's just like the role that, or the rules that they have in there. Vampires can't do anything to you unless you say that it's okay for them to enter. And that's the way it is in real life as well, man. There's some vampires out there, but it's only if you let them.
Yeah, one of the things we're talking a lot about in class, whether on the road around the country or in the 6 month academy or the ranch, is we've been honing in a lot on needs and boundaries, because a lot of times people don't know, depending on how they grew up, that they're not allowed to have needs. They don't know that they're allowed to have needs. They
Mhm.
don't define their needs. They don't get clear about their needs. That's kind of what the clarity, focus, and consistency was about. And once you set your needs, then it becomes easier to set the boundaries. It becomes easier to say no to things that take you off your path. And then when you can convince yourself that things are doable, like Jolene, like Juliet, like Amy, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm starting to see progress. I'm starting to be inspired. I'm starting to inspire myself by sticking with this course of action. And it's like, oh, yeah, why would I now run over here and get distracted by all this other nonsense when I know that this path is my life, right? Is my purpose, is my why. And that helps to the clarity and the specificity of answering those questions, right? Focus, consistency, help you to say no to things that you shouldn't be doing, that take you away from the things that you love, that take you away from the things that make you you. The thing that Juliet was talking about, where you can be yourself regardless of who makes fun of you, regardless of the naysayers, regardless of how daunting the task might be. That's where the magic is. That's where amazing things happen.
Hell yes, man. That is what I'm talking about. And I want to wrap this up with something that you mentioned earlier this morning, something that you have coming in 2025. And I believe it was an award that you were talking about.
Yeah, so we talked about Amy. Amy might start cringing because when I start talking about this and bring the attention to her, she's definitely a back room kind of person. She doesn't like the spotlight, but I'm relentlessly giving it to her because she deserves it. Uh, Amy is number one, an amazing person, and in July of this year, she was in the supermarket parking lot, truck facing opposite her truck. The driver put his vehicle into reverse, then slams it into drive, plows into her truck. She's like, oh man, something's going on here. She flags down a passerby. The two of them pull the guy out of James out of his truck, lay him out on the parking lot, and do chest compressions, save his life. On November 4th, I attended this ceremony in Lake Jackson, Texas, because the Lake Jackson, where the event happened, the incident happened, Lake Jackson mayor and city council said, okay, November 4th, 2024 is Amy Potan Day. Amy Potan, what they call you, hero CPR hero day, right? And so there was a crowd at the city council, at City Hall. James, the survivor, was there with his family, and it was just an amazing recognition of everybody involved. And a couple of weeks later, I was thinking, I think we need to do something with this. So it wasn't even a couple of weeks later. I think November 11th was the ranch, and November 4th was a ceremony in Lake Jackson. And in between those, in that week, I was just like, oh, you know what? Let's do the Guiding Light Award. I don't know where that name came from. It wasn't based on the soap opera for all you old people who used to watch the Guiding Light. It's the Guiding Light Award, and she inspired it. She was actually at the ranch the first recipient of the Guiding Light Award. That I didn't even have the award made yet. I just came up with the idea. I asked my designers to come up with a concept. I gave it to her yesterday, 2 days ago, here in League City, Texas. But I wanted something that highlights dispatchers, that highlights the amazing things that they do, and makes further opportunities available. So let's have the winners come to the ranch. Let's have the directors nominate their guiding lights. We'll collect nominations. We'll make decisions. We'll have winners come to the ranch and be the recipients of the Guiding Light Award, which is a nice little kind of glass trophy thing, and it's designed like a flame, and $1,000 for themselves to do whatever they want personally, and just to say, look, we're watching you. We see you. We see how amazing you are. We see people like Amy on a daily basis who are going above and beyond, who really have the heart of leadership and leading with love. And we want to just keep spreading that as much as possible. So that's our small contribution to, addition to the 911 field. If we can celebrate dispatchers, then we will in any way we can.
Hell yes. And again, congratulations, Amy.
Thanks.
Yes,
Appreciate ya.
you had no idea, and Joe Joe sent me the picture really quick before I spoke that night and or that morning, rather, and we put it up on the screen really fast, and he's like, "Go ahead, put it up," and I was like, "All right." Threw it on the screen and stuff, and that was a really cool moment,
I knew y'all were doing something sneaky.
man. Exactly. Yes.
Y'all were leaving me out.
Well, I mean, you kind of had to.
Yeah, kind of the nature of the
I
thing.
didn't want to ruin the surprise. Like, oh man, yeah, no, it was it was a really cool moment. I love that you guys are going to be doing this, and I can't wait to see where it all goes and how it continues to build and stuff. And it has been just an excellent time. This whole day is 360 Dispatcher Day. You had the opening session, your diamond sponsor, which I thank you so very much for that, and then Amy with your session as well, and then everything we talked about this evening. It has just been an excellent time, and what sucks is that when you go through the ranch and it gets to the end, and it's like I really want to go back. Like, when's the next one? Not till March, right? Or something like that. You got some stuff that's going on, but it also it feels like family, when you go there. So you end up missing it. Like I walked in and I can't remember her name, but she's usually at the desk, and she goes, "Do you need a map?" And I said, "Oh no," I said, I've been here many times now, and I usually go to this specific cabin." And she goes, "Oh well, welcome back." And I said, "Well, it feels like family when I come here." She goes, "That's how it is. Yes, that's how it is. Welcome back." And I was like, "Thanks." Like
So a
back
lot
to
of
my room.
people, I'm sure people don't know that the ranch is actually owned and run by a family.
Yes.
And there are a dozen siblings, and the parents had it. They bought it 50, 70 years ago, and the dozen siblings are running it, managing it. Their kids are involved in running it. The grandkids are coming along. So that whole setup is a family. And
Yes.
so it's great to just slide into that dynamic and have our 911 family and our ranch family and yeah, and our Dare to Be Great family. It's been, I mean, Juliet was at the ranch, Dalen was at the ranch, and to have it on the 360 day, uh, it's been great, and let's keep fostering that kind of feeling.
Yes. And for all of you who are watching and listening right now, if you missed the post, there is a post on my social media, whether it be Instagram or Facebook or some of the other ones that are out there. I can't, Twitter or X. I mean, I put a post out there on Friday, on the last day at the end when I go live. I'm going to be doing a bunch of giveaways for I am 911 merchandise and everything else. But the grand prize is going to be a registration to the ranch, and that's going to be a spot for September 2025. Now you got to find a way to get out there, of course, but from within the trenches media, that is going to be the grand prize is a registration to the ranch. So if you have not seen that post yet, go search for it because there are tons of people who have already done what they needed to do to have an entry for those giveaways. But again, the registration for the ranch is going to be in there. That's going to be the last one that I mentioned for that day on Friday, and it's going to be excellent. So so I'm excited. So thank you guys very much for being with us. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Amy. And we're gonna wrap it up here because Dave had been doing stuff all day, and so have I, and we need some rest. So have a good one, everyone. Have an excellent night, and we'll see you guys all tomorrow, bright and early in the morning. Well, you guys will be doing something else, but I'll be. I will see you all in the morning. So have a good one, everyone. Have a good night.